Anthony, I love that so much. Coaches are psychos. They remember every more than any good thing that happened to them. Unless you're Sean McVay, and then you remember everything. Joe started his press conference today talking about preparing for the opponent Sunday night, the Atlanta Falcons. A very interesting team to have right now because they just switched quarterbacks from Kirk Cousins to Michael Penix. So what does this Falcons offense do well?
Well, I think from the pass game standpoint, they make the reads similar. They're balanced for the quarterback, and so the progression, if it's left to right, or if it's away from the back or to the back, it's very easy for the quarterback to get through his progressions. In the run game, they do a good job of getting the ball on the edge. I mean, they have really good blockers. They really get to the second level quickly, and they're able to get the runner onto the second level.
Bijan is one of the few backs in the NFL who can compete in explosiveness with Saquon Barkley. Their ability to get him out on the edge and then let him make one cut and be gone is special. And the other thing about Bijan that's really, really special is his missed tackle rate is higher than anyone else in the league, or at least the total number of missed tackles. He's got 99. How good is that? I have no context. Craig, 99 missed tackles. That sounds like a lot, but it's because it's close to 100, and that's a big number. How about that as the fourth most of any running back since 2018 in any single season through their first 16 games? So he is having a ridiculous season in terms of making the most out of every single run. So, yeah, stopping him is pretty important. Now, Joe mentioned they do a good job with their pass concepts as well. Zach Robinson, the first-year play caller. Joe is a first-year play caller as well. Is there any difference in preparing for a fellow first-year play caller?
Yeah, it's from the standpoint that, you have a book on guys that you've seen, years prior. With a guy that's his first year, okay, you look at what he's done. Now, we're towards the end of the season, so it's a little bit easier. But you look at, okay, what did he do at the place before? And his history, and then who was he really under for the majority of his time. You try to go back in the past and see what he's done in the past.
So the play caller, Zach Robinson, comes out of the Sean McVay tree, and there's definitely some elements of that. They've also done a really good job of taking what Atlanta did in the past under Arthur Smith and keeping some of that because their personnel is built that way. They are excellent as an outside zone running team, which is what they were primarily under Arthur Smith. And even though McVay and a lot of the other coaches on that tree have gone to different ways of running the football, Atlanta's really stuck to that. And now, because they have a more mobile quarterback in Penix than what they had this version of Kirk Cousins, they can hit a lot of the play action shots off of that, even if they were a lot of the underneath stuff off of that last week against the Giants, compared to some of the bigger shots that will certainly come against other opponents, hopefully not the Commanders, on Sunday in Penix's future. Last but not least, is there an adjustment at all, not just going quarterback to quarterback, but it's one of these like little nuanced things, but you're going against a lefty this week. Michael Penix, obviously the blind side is different, where maybe he's stronger coming out of certain rollouts. Things like that are different. Is there an adjustment, Joe Whitt Jr., going against a lefty quarterback in Michael Penix?
Yeah, that's a good question. Some things we might do in reverse because of the progression of how they read it. But, for the most part, we always do a hit chart of where the ball goes, and sometimes there's a right-hand quarterback that might throw it better to the left. That's rare, but there's sometimes that happens. And so we see the hit chart, and if we want to tilt the coverage one way or another, that affects. I give you an example. We were playing when Michael Vick came back a long time ago. That game started with a right-hand quarterback, and he came in. He was at Philly, and I had Sam Shields on the opposite side of the quarterback's throwing hand. So when Vic came in, I still had Sam to the right side, and he was a rookie that year. And he gave up a touchdown. Well, I should have flipped him once he got in and put Tremont on that side over there, which I didn't, but then it hit me like, okay, he's to the quarterback's throwing arm. So that's a very good point.
Anthony, I love that so much. Coaches are psychos. They remember every more than any good thing that happened to them. Unless you're Sean McVay, and then you remember everything. But coaches remember every bad thing that happened to them. Like, I just imagine Joe going, wow, I didn't expect that. That was a good question. And as his brain starts to go, there's just this, 5-alarm fire going off. Like, Vic's a lefty, switch the corner. Vic's a lefty, switch the corner. because he didn't do it one time in 2000 whatever.
I mean, Joe Whitt just strikes me as that person that, like, he's the type to, like, really hold a grip. Like, he still
He's
might
so
be mad
smart.
at LaFleur for what he did to the Cowboys last playoffs.
I mean, I'm sure he is. But also just like the little things like that. Like, oh, yeah, what about this route? How do you cover? Oh, I remember in 2006 when I'm trying to remember a receiver who was big in 2006. Was Terrell
Bolden, maybe? I don't
What?
know.
Yeah, Anquan Bolden. Was Terrell Owens still playing?
They busted onto the scene.
Yeah, Terrell Owens was still playing in 2006. When Terrell Owens ran this against us, or Randy Moss ran this against us this way against this coverage, and I was like, I'm never letting that happen again. Like, coaches are nuts, and I think that's a great story from Joe about thinking about some of those details. And I think it's a good insight, too, because some quarterbacks, and we talked about this with Jaden a little bit earlier in the year, where he is seemingly more comfortable throwing to his right, which was a problem when Terry McLaurin was always lined up on the left. And it wasn't so much that Terry being lined up on the left on its own was this huge problem. But if you have a mismatch of where the quarterback is most comfortable and getting your best receiver in those spots, like that is a problem we've seen as the season has gone on for a variety of reasons, but mainly because they just needed to have a more dynamic, less static offense. They're moving Terry around a lot more, and especially to that right side of the field. Continuing on with Joe Whitt Jr.
Number 5.
We all know Frankie Louvu's had an enormous contribution to this defense, but directly Joe Whitt, how would you describe number 4's contributions to this unit?
Well, first, he's, like I've said from day one, he's the type of player that we wanted to build this defense around. He's a run and hit, high energy man. He's everything that this defense really wants to be about. Frankie is a great teammate. All right, he's a leader. He doesn't say a whole bunch of, he doesn't say anything. He just runs and plays with great emotion and does whatever we ask him to do. He's right there. Bobby's so even keeled, and then you have Frankie that just is ready to run through the wall. So he's just what we stand for.
I think it's such a great pairing because Bobby is a guy that will speak up in the locker room maybe a little bit more. And I don't know that Bobby's like, hey, let's get the whole team together, rah, rah. Like, he will do that if it's needed. And he obviously earlier this season spoke to the team before one of the games, like in the meeting room style. So he's not afraid to do any of that stuff from a vocal standpoint, but he's also a guy that I think goes around the locker room and has relationships with a lot of different guys and talks to a lot of different guys, where Louvu's the much more silent type. Then on the field, Bobby arrives with physicality and violence, but the loud player between the two of them is certainly Frankie Louvu. And so you have this great yin and yang pairing of not only personalities, but play styles that has been really great for the Commanders more often than not this season. Are they perfect? No. Playing linebacker in the NFL is hard as hell. And there are, 5 guys in the last decade of the league that are great two-way linebackers. And Wagner at one point was one of those guys. Fred Warner, Roquan Smith, like those types of guys are rare. But if you can do most of what a linebacker needs to do in the league and do the other stuff at a passable level and do one thing exceptionally well, you can be a star at that spot. And that's certainly what Frankie Louvu has been this season for Washington. Last but not least,
Number 6.
Jon Allen could be back this week for the Commanders. What's that mean for Joe Whitt, and how will you use him? Defensive coordinator was asked today. You're only going to get so much in this answer, though.
Oh, I'm excited. With the opportunity of getting him back, hopefully that happens when he gets back in. I'm sure he'll be on the pitch count, but I don't know what that number will be. I'll let the medical staff and AP and DQ, lead that way. But he gives us just another veteran player, high pedigree player that can go in and give those quality snaps inside, that can get after the quarterback, push the pocket, be disruptive. So we're excited to get him back.
I think the defense has, by and large, been better since Jonathan Allen was out for the Commanders. However, that wasn't just because Jonathan Allen was screwing it all up and now everything's fixed. This defense has grown since he has been out, since the time has elapsed since John was out. So the question is, when he gets back, can he pick up where they are now, or is he still where they left off? Because if he's still where they left off, that's going to be a problem. And that would be true for any player coming back to the defense, not just John, who's been here for a while, and everything that it means to be Jon Allen for the Commanders. But if he can say, like, oh, yeah, I've been in these meetings, I've been paying attention the whole year, I've been at practice, I've been observing and now participating in practice the last week, and I understand where we are and the things that we've changed, then, yeah, Jon Allen's going to be a great addition to this defense in December. And we'll see how he plays if he does suit up on Sunday. We'll find out tomorrow, and we'll let you know here on The Hoffman Show.